Good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me tonight we're sitting down with an author, Jillian, and her new book, Tarot Life Lessons Living Wisdom for the Major Arcana. So, how did you like writing this? Because, you get into a lot with the tarot. There's a lot of
Sure.
cross stories and history. What was your process there?
As far as getting into tarot or as far as writing
Getting
the
in,
book?
writing the book, locking into, okay, so we're going to work with the full card, and this is the mythos we're taking with the full card.
Okay, yeah, I didn't approach it that way. In fact,
Okay.
this comes from my journal entries originally of
Hmm.
I've been a tarot card reader for over 45 years. I've been a professional tarot card reader for about 15 years. And over those 15 years, I journaled some of the stories that kind of rocked me, the
Hmm.
ones that made the biggest impression. And I really didn't think too much about ever doing anything with it until COVID, and my husband suggested that I put it together in a book. He's been saying for years, "Oh, you got, so many good stories." And I thought, well, why not match them up to the major arcana cards? I have a lot of scholarship around the mysticism of the poet Sylvia Plath, and she did that. And I always thought, well, that's sort of the divine structure, the story of all of us from the Fool card to the World card. And I thought it might be fun to put my stories on that framework.
Very cool, very interesting. So how did you get into tarot to begin with?
Well, that's the first story, which is in accordance with the Fool card. And
Hmm.
I was always kind of a mystical kid, and so I talk about wandering into a magic shop back in the 1970s. Magic shops in the 70s were not like the new age shops that we have today. I'm talking rabbits out of hats and sponge
Sure.
foam balls and gag gifts and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And in this store, they had some tarot cards, and I tell the whole story. And this very cool shop girl who was a bit older than me, who said, "Do you want to see some real magic?" And she showed me the cards, and that was it. Love at first sight. And I plunked down my babysitting money, and and the rest is history.
Very cool. And you still give readings today?
Oh yeah, yeah, regularly every day. 7
Yeah.
days a week, morning, noon, and night.
Well, I can understand that, myself, reading, that's the main thing. Podcast hosting is still the fun thing.
Mhm.
Um, so where is this book? Is this after the readings? Is this after, the building, the growing of it? Or is this, for the new person?
Well, it's kind of all of that. So I write every story as if it's happening. I'm also a creative writer,
Hmm.
and so I try to take you, as they say, in media res, in the situation. I talk about what cards I'm seeing. I talk
Hmm.
about the meanings, getting deeper and deeper into these cards and the symbolism and the numerology and all of that. But it's
Sure.
not too heavy. It's still a story. And so someone like my husband, who doesn't read at all, who, if you're just into the story, that's fine.
Hmm.
But if you are a tarot card reader or interested in learning tarot, it would give you some cues as to how I do it, and what these cards mean. But it is by no means an instruction book.
Right. Yeah, this
There's
is really
plenty of
more of
those.
an appendum. It
Yeah, I
is.
don't need to write another one.
I might disagree with you, and this is why.
Oh?
We are now over 100 years since the tarot was put together by Rider and White and Patricia.
Mhm.
A lot of those definitions don't fit anymore. A letter is coming. You
Well,
know,
that's more the Lenormand kind of reading when you get those very vague kind of what I would
right,
call fortune cookies, you know?
right. And but for the newer readers out there that
Mhm.
just start setting down and just start kind of pulling into this.
See, I don't know if I agree with you, Asen, because
Okay.
I think that people are people across the ages, and so, when we look at the Empress, that's our great mother, where
Hmm.
everyone's always had a mother, we're not here without a mother. The Emperor, he can be the father figure, he can also be the military, the lover's card. It may be differently expressed. I mean, the
Hmm.
problem with the Rider-Waite deck is that it's very white and it's very heterosexual, right? And it doesn't
Right,
really have room for anything else there. But today there are so many beautiful decks that go beyond that, that
right.
may still be on that Rider-Waite kind of symbolism. So I'm not sure I agree about how outdated it was, although we've been modernized since then.
Right. Yeah. We've been modernized. We've been, the readings have changed.
Hmm.
The growth has changed. I think there's a lot of um, lessons that we have occurred over the past, some 100 years with the
Hmm. Oh,
tarot.
sure.
And I think that, it's very daunting sometimes when newer readers come to the path.
Mm.
Newer readers start picking up the tarot and, they get so jumbled up with the 445 meanings to one
Yeah.
card. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and it's like, stop, pick
And I
one.
talk about that because when I
Hmm.
started at 16, I just had the little white booklet that came in my box,
Hmm.
and that's what I went with for years. I mean, decades. For I think and I address this in the book. I think that helped me to rely on my intuition more because it gave me just a key word or two. Just get
Hmm.
sort of like the vaguest of symbolism there,
Right.
and then the rest I kind of felt my way through. And then years later, I picked up Mary Greer's books and Rachel Pollack's books and Joe Dorosky, and really got into the meat of it. But
Hmm.
until then, I don't think you have to know so much, and I think that can intimidate people with the tarot. And if it's always been my belief that the biggest enemy of intuition is being afraid to be wrong, right?
Hmm.
So if we are freaked out on, oh, did I get this card right? Is it supposed to be this or is it supposed to be that? Well, we're just screwing it up for ourselves right off the
Right.
bat.
Right. And that can be very hard. And, that's why, one of the first things I normally tell my students is take that lovely white book, read it once, then
Mhm.
put it under the wobbly table, or if you need something to put underneath your coffee cup, it works lovely as a coaster. Then they went and upped the game with me, and now they're starting to produce books, the bigger ones. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to tell my students to do with that thing?
Yeah, yeah. It's there's so much to learn, and I don't know if I'll ever stop learning about, just the potential symbolism and, the things encoded in the designs, and of course every deck just springs off of that and adds to it.
Right.
So, my favorite deck I have right here, the Alchemical Tarot by Robert Place,
Uh
and,
huh.
this is Rider-Waite based,
Based.
but it's very big on, obviously, the alchemy theme,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned so much. I go back always to my scholarship on Sylvia Plath because that took me down the rabbit hole of Kabbalah, and
Mm-hmm.
before I was really a student of tarot, when it was just a fun thing that I didn't know that tarot was on the framework of the Kabbalah tree of life. And so once I got down that rabbit hole. Then I learned about the mythology behind it and the numerology and the astrology, and and
Hmm.
it just really
The
exploded for me.
40 other branching things from,
Yeah.
to that card. Um,
Hmm.
and with that, a lot of times, um, I think it takes a really good writer and a really good artist to take the journey with that. And your book does that very well with different stories. What was the
Thank you.
hardest one to put together?
Wow. I don't know that I had one that was hardest. I have two stories in there, one with the Emperor and one with the Moon card, that they're actually they're double stories
Hmm.
in those chapters because I couldn't pick, honestly.
Right.
And so in those cards I have one for the moon straight up and one for the moon reversed, and same with the
Hmm.
Emperor, which I didn't do with the others. The others just have one. But so reining it in was maybe
Hmm.
my biggest challenge. My end story, the world, uh, was, I mean, several of them are hard subjects,
Hmm.
but the end story is about children dying, which of
Hmm.
course is maybe one of the hardest things anybody could face.
Right.
And so without giving away the end of my book,
Yeah,
I'll
we're
leave
not. We
I'll
we
leave that
dance through it and give y'all tastes, but no, y'all go get the book. It's at
there.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's by Destiny Print, which is a lovely company to work with. I understand.
Oh gosh, yes. I've had nothing but a great experience with everybody over there. It's been really
Yeah.
wonderful.
How's your cover art? Like, did you have a real challenge with that?
That again, the publisher did.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
I think initially I might have had a couple, back and forth, might like this, don't like that sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we had more struggle with the title than the cover art.
Really?
But we both, uh, just came to agree on tarot life lessons. I think that says it well. My
Yeah.
working title was the Tarot Diaries because, of course, it came from my journals. So,
Right.
but that sounds a little like the Vampire Diaries, and it makes it sound more like a tell-all kind of book.
Right.
But it is a little bit of that. There's
It
some sexy
is.
stories and there's some murders and there's some
You
interesting stuff.
can't get away. Okay, let's take a talk. Let's take a side talk here. You
Mhm.
can't get sex out of the tarot.
No,
Like you
that's
can't
true.
whitewash it out. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's built all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Tarot's very sexy,
yeah,
especially the alchemical deck.
that one's very sexy. The Pride deck is very sexy. Um, the Gilded Tarot, I love it very well. I'm sure you're
Uh-huh.
familiar with it.
Mhm.
Um, that's my favorite one that I'm currently working with. I'm also working with the Luscious Tarot from Dubé Prince. They're out of North Carolina. They do a lovely reprint of some classical decks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So we're getting some feed in here and some share outs. We're not doing readings right now, guys. We're actually doing interview um, and
Everybody wants a
talking.
reading.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's okay. But no, we're just talking right now about her new book. Um, with that, we broke a story a couple weeks back about, well, I guess it's been a quarter now, right, Shannon, at least, about a new age magic shop up in Pennsylvania that was breaking the seals and the tarot and not selling it and taking out the devil card before selling the tarot.
Oh, please.
What's your thoughts?
That's terrible. Well, first of all, it's an incomplete deck, and so
Right.
you cannot get a proper reading without the devil card. I do not believe the devil card is evil. I
Mm-hmm.
I use it as an expression of the ego and the material world, and lust and the sensual
Mm-hmm.
pleasures. So, I always say right side up, we love the devil. He's living large. He's nice clothes,
Mm-hmm.
good food, good drink, vacations, sex, sleeping late,
Right.
all the things we love. Now upside down in reverse, that's when we get into the more addictive properties, when we get too much into the pleasures, they can own us. And the devil
Mm-hmm.
does have chains on the people in that card. So, I definitely think that there's a place for the devil, and I think he
Mm-hmm.
belongs in the tarot deck. But
Right.
yeah, so I would have a real problem with that shop.
Yeah. I had a major blow up that night of the show, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me that this is still going on after almost 100 years.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the full product, don't sell the product. But the
Right.
other side of that is I think people tend to forget that the tarot is a balance of light and dark. Like it
Mhm.
has the high flying, high energy, high mindedness, how alchemy, and then it has the more lower vibrations because life has that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, it's people are complicated, and we need
Hmm.
all those energies. The tarot is just gonna be expressing all those energies. So,
Hmm.
to pretend something doesn't exist,
Right.
especially in this world today, like,
Right.
there's a lot of darkness, and to not have it be able to be addressed in the tarot, would be a shame, I think.
Yeah. I think it would be a very deep shame. I also think that it takes away of a good lesson in the tarot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you plan to do the minors?
Yeah, as far as like you're meaning another book, a follow-up book, and
Follow up
I
or five?
I I've certainly been giving it some thought, and while I used my best stories on this one, more happen all the time, and I have my notes, and
Hmm.
so it's just a matter of putting that all together, and who knows, what we shall see. I'm so excited. I mean, I have another book following next year with Destiny
Hmm.
Books, and I don't have it printed yet, but I have a copy of the cover here, The Occult
Oh,
Sylvia Plath. And so I'm going kind of two different directions with Destiny Books.
okay.
They I cannot stress how wonderful they've been, and
And that's
such an
refreshing.
experience. Yeah.
Because occult authors had to go probably late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of them had to go rebel because no, like Simon and Schuster looking at your book would never happen.
Right.
Yeah, they're like,
Right.
nope, not touching that. Do you think that we'll see that again, or do you think that it's just moving forward?
I feel like it's moving forward. I mean, in that time, maybe, well, when I look at Simon and Schuster or HarperCollins or,
Hmm.
Random House, any of these big
Right.
publishers, a lot of them have spiritual sections now. So
Yeah.
I don't think that they're completely against it. They may be, a little bit. I wonder if what I do is maybe a little too esoteric for them, and they might be more in the Gabrielle Bernstein, just positive thinking kind of
Right.
area of spirituality, and that's fine,
Right.
and I'm all about that too. But a company like Inner Traditions, Barron Company, Destiny Books,
Hmm.
all the same. They're very oriented just to this, and they have the right contacts as far as publicity, and they have a great team that gets it, that doesn't think I'm a weirdo, and
Right.
and so yeah, just very thorough, very careful.
Right. And I think they do really, working from my side of it, because I'm just part of the PR department, in, meaning I just get to sit down and have really good conversations, that type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, they take really good care to get me the material. They're always easy to work with. They're always easy with getting you guys scheduled and
Nice.
really like delving into things. So how do you like to conduct your readings? Like, let's talk
Well,
about some of your normal everyday business.
yeah, yeah. So these days, probably every day I do 2, 3, 4 readings at home, either on the phone or FaceTime, or
Mm-hmm.
occasionally Zoom if they want to record it. So I
Mm-hmm.
do lots of readings that way. Um, Sometimes WhatsApp, if I got somebody overseas. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I am overall, yeah, I'd say since COVID, more of it is done online and on the phone than in person. But I
Mm-hmm.
do still do events.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people locally will come to my home, and a lot of times people like to do these tarot parties online, which is really fun. And they'll book a couple hours of my time, and they'll all take turns getting in front of the camera, and I just read for them that way, and works out great.
That's an interesting idea. I haven't
Yeah.
done that one. I,
Oh, I
you
do it all
know,
the time.
I do Zoom readings already in private.
Mhm,
One party Zoom readings.
mhm.
Um, I haven't, and I do. I've started doing a few limited events, but I'm tired of the road, so I'm very much back into the home office. I work for a few networks; those are fun,
Mhm.
but and doing appointments. But yeah, it's interesting. You are actually doing tarot parties via Zoom. How cool!
Yeah, works great.
Saves
And
on
Zoom
the
is
air
great,
travel.
right? And Zoom is great because they have, the, capability to record, so people can
Hmm.
save it and watch it later, so that's always good. But I do air travel also.
Really?
I get some corporate events now and then.
Hmm.
I just had a really big party in Miami a couple months ago, and yeah, yeah, lots of fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Very interesting. What makes a good story?
I think it's the universality of a story. So we all know people who, like, my first story after my own,
Hmm.
is about a woman who's taken by a scam artist, and we're all hit with scam artists every day just about, and it's whether or
Hmm.
not we get suckered into it or not. But
Right.
um, so so this was a kind of tragic story of a lonely widow who was taken
Hmm.
advantage of, and thought that she'd found someone to love her, and and it was pretty heartbreaking. And
Hmm.
I just felt very connected to her, very protective over her.
Hmm.
And so, I'm in all of these stories. So you're going to see how I process this stuff, and how, in some cases, I maybe am taking too much responsibility, that I got to let the person live
Right.
their life. You'll see in some cases that I need more boundaries, and the people kind of come too much to me. But in each case, I think it's a story of people we know, or at
Hmm.
least know of, and feelings that we've all had. And so everyone knows someone who has died in a car accident,
Hmm.
and everyone knows someone who has an addiction problem.
Hmm.
And these days, it seems everyone knows someone who's, on the spectrum,
Hmm.
and a little socially awkward, and not really able to relate very well. And, and I have gold diggers, and I have actually someone who admitted to a murder. And I have all
Ooh,
kinds
that pushed a boundary, actually.
of, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've written
Yeah.
every story in a way that I hope that you will see their humanity, and even love them. And I should say that this murder is not the it's not a serial killer. It's not like
Right.
the psychopath. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so we these are human stories.
Hmm.
And they were people that I think when I read for somebody, I'm making a very deep connection and I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling their feelings and, extremely empathic. And while I may not always agree with ethics
Mm-hmm.
or morals or whatever, I can feel through it and I can understand it and I can love them. And so I
Right.
try to write it from that way of kind of finding my way into the person
Mm-hmm.
and experiencing their point of view
Mm-hmm.
and not judging
Mm-hmm.
and just laying it out there.
And and that's that position I find it's hard to teach students this. This is what because as we teach, we have to go and we have to break it back apart and go, okay, so how do I do this? Is staying then in that non-judgmental position of like, well, that's their life. This is what they're working with. I would jump in and move the hell on, but they've determined they're going to stick with this. So
Mhm.
let's ride with them through it. What are some of your hardest points as a reader?
Ooh, I mean, I've had people who I think when I do events sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, at a busy party or something, nobody is individually invested in their reading, meaning they're not putting money down on the table for a reading because the host is paid for it, right?
Right.
And so sometimes I'll get people who are kind of you know, smirking and okay, let's see what you have to, and they can be kind
Mm-hmm.
of obnoxious. I did
Right.
have I did have one guy who just wanted to terrorize me once, and he took my
Mm-hmm.
cards and threw them at me and said they were just pieces of cardboard. I don't get that a lot though. That was early on in my career, and I don't think I would
Mm-hmm.
attract that today, honestly. But I'll get occasionally I'll get people who drink too much, and
Mm-hmm.
those readings are a nightmare. I always say there's a reason they call it spirits. And
Mm-hmm.
so, they're hollering everything at me and they're repeating themselves and they're not
Mm-hmm.
hearing things right, or they'll see a picture on the card and they'll get hysterical and like, just kind of
Mm-hmm.
assuming the worst before I can
Yeah.
explain it. So that's never my favorite either.
Yeah. I had one like that. Um, Dude, he really just sat down with me because his girlfriend wanted him to.
Right.
Like point blank, that's why he was at my table. And I was like, fine, here you go, buddy boy. And
Mhm.
I knocked his socks off. Like that's when I get to show my skill.
Mhm.
And the next year I go back to the event. He's the first in line. He's like, man, we didn't have a pot to piss in when you told me I'm buying a company next year. I thought you were full of shit. We just closed the deal 2 months ago. It's a $2 million company. I'm making almost $2,000 a day.
Nice.
And I was like, that'll teach you to piss me off again. But those are the fun events for me. I tell people I stopped playing almost 25 years. I stopped working 25 years ago. I just been playing. The
Mhm.
harder ones for me is when you get them on the line, and this ties into one of your stories in your book. So guys, take some notes and then go get her book, read her book. It's really good. Is when you get a customer either now it's a phone call or a video. And it drives me crazy, pisses me off. This is why I think in our industry we need some level of like a board or something. I've spent over $32,000 on readings trying to find this answer. And I just got told I have a curse on me.
Oh.
I just got told this. I just got told that.
Mhm.
Or I've already paid for it. Did the curse get removed?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like, no.
right, right. I beg people to, I always say, "I can read your cards because we're
Hmm.
connected just by
Right.
being alive." And I call that life force God. And I don't tell people
Mm-hmm.
how to do God, what to call God. That's your business. But if you can go there and if you can say, okay, I'm alive, I'm hooked into this God system, then you
Mm-hmm.
have great power. And
Mm-hmm.
that can't touch you, that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not unless you own it and welcome it.
Mm-hmm.
So, which obviously I do not.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it's like, who, in my viewpoint, who do you know that is pissed off enough at you that they are going to put every force and fiber of their being every day against you?
Yeah.
Oh, nobody? Then most likely you're not cursed. Go piss on a brick and move on.
Not to mention anybody who really knows about that curse energy, it's gonna come back on them 3 times, so why would they do that?
Exactly. Exactly. If that's their path. Some of them come back on them 7 times. You know, meaning that that person's belief system should have the universe returns to you what you put off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
That's
how's
karma.
delving into the occult here? Because it looks like you've got a couple of things by Sylvia.
Oh, as far as, my work you're talking about? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
How's working with that?
Oh, well, so back in oh my goodness, well, back in graduate school in 2007, I realized that Sylvia Plath had, in her great book Ariel here, which I keep beside me
Mm-hmm.
at all times, I realized that all her poems were on the framework of the major and minor arcana. And I brought this up to my professor, and he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he suggested I made it a final semester end project. Well, that
Mm-hmm.
essentially became my life's work. And
Right.
so in 2014, I published
Mm-hmm.
this book here, Fixed
Right.
Stars Govern a Life Decoding Sylvia Plath. This is actually only volume one. I didn't get the minors done on her work either.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Not yet.
but I published that with a university, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a terrible, terrible experience. The book is out of print now, but I do sell it on PDF for just $5. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone wants to reach out to me and get a copy, they're welcome to do that.
Either
And
that or they can go to your site and get it, honey. I mean, I'll go
yeah,
ahead and put the site out in the show notes, and here it is in
awesome,
chat. You
awesome.
can also book her for a reading there, guys. She also was asking for a card reading. Go to her site and book her. It looks to be fairly like an email system to do
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yep.
And then these two books followed. So I picked Plath's two most famous poems, Lady
Mm-hmm.
Lazarus and Daddy, and I decode them just so people don't. It may be a little more reader friendly, the smaller
Mm-hmm.
books, and
Right.
uh, and so less of a textbook, less heavy.
Right.
And I intend to do more of those eventually, but
Mm-hmm.
then I got sidetracked with tarot life lessons and the occult Sylvia Plath. And the occult Sylvia Plath was initially going to be the introduction to Fixed Stars Govern a Life, but it took on a life of its own.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's when I just started learning more and more about her history and,
Mm-hmm.
her interest in mysticism from a child and her family's background in mysticism. And then her husband, and she really was sort of tutored by her husband, Ted Hughes, in the occult. And they were quite well known for their dalliances with the Ouija board. And she's been
Mm-hmm.
photographed with crystal balls, and she's
Mm-hmm.
written about wanting to learn tarot and becoming a great astrologer. She's written about all of this stuff, and yet nobody applied her work to
The
this passion
systems.
she had. They did for
Right.
her husband, but
Right.
not for Plath. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that was because of the time?
Oh, I'm sure that's a big part of it. I mean, witchcraft did not even come off the books as a crime in England where they lived until 1953.
Right.
And she moved to England in 56. And
Right.
so, so that was very fresh. Also, she had electric shock treatment, and she had the burden of being seen as crazy. And so it was really important to her to look perfect. And she was teaching, and she was,
Mm-hmm.
she was she was a Cambridge student, and
Mm-hmm.
then they went back over to America, where she was teaching at Smith College for a while. And, she wanted to convey the utmost professionalism. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't want people thinking she was nuts. And so this was her secret.
Right. But her story kind of reminds me of another witchcraft historical figure, Dorothy Clutterbuck. All that's released is her poetry out of
Oh,
the Gardnerian tradition.
okay.
That's all they could find of hers that even looked like witchcraft. So I find it so interesting that we're now looking at another occultist that has done the same thing.
Yeah. So what I show is, if you look at a Plath poem like Lady Lazarus,
Mm-hmm.
because it is in alignment with, this basically Kabbalistic system, Plath
Mm-hmm.
has, at least in one set of words, she has at least 6 clear different meanings. And she gets into the history and the mythology and the alchemy and the
Mm-hmm.
astrology, and even arts and humanities and the tarot, and it's all
Right.
in one set of words. She's managed to really paint the picture of what a tarot card looks like, and getting
Mm-hmm.
into all of these meanings. And it really just shows she was a genius's genius, what she could do with words.
Right.
And nobody knows this, and everybody reads her just for her drama and her suicide, and it makes
Right.
me crazy. But I've been really blessed, and what I take as a great sign. I now own a hermetic caduceus that Plath herself carved in summer camp as a teenager, with alchemical
Ooh.
symbols and her name on it. And it
Uh-huh.
was bequeathed to me by Dr. Richard Larson, who was a friend of the Plath family and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to leave it. He's pretty elderly now, and he wanted to leave it in the hands of someone who appreciated her for her mysticism. He also included this high school photograph with
Wow.
her mother's writing on the back of it. I don't know if you can see, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so if anyone wants to see what the caduceus looks like, I've put pictures up on my website,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody can just really Google it.
Right.
And Dr. Larson had pictures up, and it's out
Right.
there. But so I really took that as a sign that, between getting the book deal for the occult Sylvia Plath, and then having this caduceus fall into my hands like this, and I just feel Sylvia is she wants to be redeemed. She wants to be more than the hysterical suicide, and
Right.
uh, and I think I'm the one to do it.
I hope so. Like, I think that she has a lot of poetry out there, and you've, clearly demonstrated it not only in your books, but also in your continual work of it, that has a lot of what I call hidden information, hidden
Yeah.
communications.
And she taught me how to be a better tarot reader, because
Okay.
until I started that work, I didn't have that Kabbalistic influence, and I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
studied alchemy, and really not mythology either. I mean, it's been such a journey for me educationally,
Mm-hmm.
an incredible, wonderful journey. and
Right.
Yeah, and I'll never know it all. I mean, whoever, who can know all of Kabbalah?
I
It's
don't think
just,
anyone can.
I don't think
Well,
so.
and it's like, I talk with other readers that are within our realms. You're, a decade more than me, but within our realms of tarot reading. And I'm like, so what are you working on? And they're always studying something, delving into something, going, doing another class, teaching, taking another class where they're teaching in class, delving into another realm of it. Like, apparently, and, I'm set to do this I'm digging into it. There's a lot of apparently Tibetan mysticism that has
Mm,
been added into the tarot with the Kabbalah, and it's looking at how to tie it together. I'm delving into that. What are you delving into with Sylvia?
Well, like I said, Sylvia has sent me in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, currently on my website, I'm exploring some of her older poems that don't get a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Hughes, her husband, had made a statement that her work wasn't of the same quality before she met him. And a lot of people thought that was a very arrogant statement, but he's right. And there's a reason we don't read the poems from the 1950s like we do the 1960s. However, she was learning. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have been having fun and really teaching myself to be a better poet as well,
Mm-hmm.
learning to how she learned and how she
Mm-hmm.
kind of was flexing her muscles and getting her chops here. So on my website, juliagordonbramer.com, I have a whole section called Decoding Sylvia Plath. And you can click on various poems from 1956 and 1957. I don't have them all up yet. And just explore what she was doing with each, and to get a sense of this, how deep her imagery went beyond her personal autobiography. I've had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pushback, I should say, from academia who are not happy with exploring Plath in this way. Plath called herself an atheist, which
Mm-hmm.
she was, and everybody who reads on her will say she was the most spiritual atheist ever. but
Mm-hmm.
um, but because she used that term, a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
academics are just like, nope, she is autobiography. That's the only way to read her. And gosh, it's so limiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I have just when I started this work, I thought that they would be so excited to see these different meanings and her brilliance. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like I was shunned. I have been iced out of conferences, and I have, just been
Right.
treated horribly. But I hadn't thought that, oh, I'm jeopardizing their careers. They've built a career teaching it to mean one thing, and here
Right.
I've gone to blow the roof off that.
Well, not only that, but do you think they've boxed that viewpoint in? Like they want to sell it as a tragedy, the
Oh,
tragic
absolutely.
poet,
She's
and
the drama. Hollywood made a movie of her with Gwyneth Paltrow, and they barely talked about her work. It was only the
mm-hmm.
drama. It was how beautiful she and Daniel Craig, her husband, were.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
and yeah, and that is it's a great story. It makes for a great tragedy.
right,
But she was so much more than that.
right. And I think that a lot of times academia gets really stuck in we've already wrote the textbook, we're not correcting it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
We're not taking that different viewpoint there. What do you have to say to those young college students that are stumbling upon things
Oh,
like
I'm not
this?
sure. Yeah, I don't think school teaches us to think for ourselves anymore. And I say that as a former professor. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
taught I taught college and at the Lindenwood University for quite a number of years, and people just think that you go to get the piece of paper, and there isn't really questioning of the students on, well, where else can we take this, and what are your feelings? And they're just
Mm-hmm.
told what to think.
Right.
uh but by many teachers anyway. There will
Mm-hmm.
always be some good ones who go outside the bounds.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't really I don't think college is the way anymore to learn to think. I really don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that's a
Yeah.
a big statement from a former professor. I loved getting my master's in fine arts,
Mm-hmm.
um, in creative writing, poetry, and
Mm-hmm.
fiction. But that,
Right.
of course, is more creative, so I'm not being told what to think. Although
Right.
even then, I pushed back a little bit. They gave us some classes in teaching,
Mm-hmm.
because you get an MFA
Right.
assuming you're going to go on and teach. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, I think the real learning comes. It's a more autodidactic, solitary
Hmm.
thing. It's the hermit, right? It's
Right.
going off on your own on that mountaintop and holding your lantern and
And
becoming
looking
enlightened.
down.
And
Yeah.
that's a solo journey.
Hmm. Do you ever foresee a university teaching tarot and astrology again?
Well, my university, Lindenwood, came close to it by allowing me to teach my own book as the textbook, my first
Hmm.
class book. And so I did. I required that my students buy a Rider-Waite tarot deck, and
Hmm.
we went over her work,
Hmm.
and it was really fun.
Uh-huh.
Um, did that for a couple of years. Um, I don't know that, that would be a fascinating course, to get into maybe the history of it, to get into the
Hmm.
mythology of it. Yeah, now you're making me think maybe that's a future direction for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see a university that is based on the occult.
Mm.
You
And
know,
there's
they
probably one of those already. I was
no,
talking
not
about
really.
bringing it into a regular university, but,
Yeah,
no, I mean,
no,
there's like a tarot university out there. I know I've seen that.
right, but not like a brick and mortar. You know, you know, Harvard, anywhere that you go and you're studying the works of the occult, you're going after a metaphysical degree, a master in occultism or anything like that. There's, groups that have banded together and formed universities, but not brick and mortar. Not
Mhm,
a 4 year, 8 year degree where you're delving into all of this history, all these chimed in systems
mhm.
that build off of each other to lead to each other.
Yeah, yeah, that would be pretty neat,
Yeah,
and
you know.
maybe we should start it.
You got to find a location first, and that seems to be always changing.
Yeah, gotta find
Yeah,
the time.
yeah, the creation of it, that, and then getting it through the realms of academia.
Mhm,
Without trying to get people to actually go and research. Okay, what does Saturn actually do when it's in retrograde that academia can't accept?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think the closest we've got to that is probably some of these larger, spiritual bookstores and centers
Hmm.
that have their, their regular classes. We have here in St. Louis, the Center of Metaphysics,
Hmm.
and they do courses. It's not a
Hmm.
university, but,
Right.
something people can go to after work and, study dreams or study,
Hmm.
astrology or something like that.
Right. Yeah. All right, darling. Well, it's been a joy talking with you. I look forward
Likewise.
to your book coming out. Please make sure that you stop back by for a cup of tea, and we'll talk about it and delve deeper into Sylvia and some of her works. And I was enjoying this book so far. I'm only a little bit of ways in,
Well,
but we're
thanks,
getting there.
Aeson. Great.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Have a
Take
lovely
care.
evening. Bye, darlings.
Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here from Rowan Temple of Light, and I'm here to tell you about our events this summer. First up is Beltane in the Hills, May 13th, and that is from 1 to 6. We have entertainment, we have a bunch of vendors, we have a fairy photo shoot. It's going to be exciting. You having any questions, reach out to Earth Magic or to myself. After that, we have Central West Virginia Pagan Pride, August 19th. That's at Holly Gray Park from 11 to 5 for the day. And we will have Sarah Masters coming down from Pittsburgh to be our keynote speaker. We have some great classes for that. So if you want to get involved, reach out to Rowan Temple of Light at Gmail, or just follow us along on Facebook at Rowan Temple of Light, and we look forward to seeing you out in the community. See you there.
Welcome back, goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that Call Now button there on my site. It'll connect you to Keen, and if you've not been with Keen before, you'll get 3 free minutes to talk with me, so that's great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Bye, y'all.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
All right.
Wow. Hello, darling.
Hello.
Hello, you're a little loud tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm loud.
I don't know either. It's just like, boom. Joe has arrived.
Ta-da.
So how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So yeah, this I won't say this week's going great, but it is slightly better than last week.
Right.
So we're here.
We're here. We're moving forward.
Moving.
Alrighty. Are you ready to plead your case for our audience?
I am. I just finally found one that I liked.
Okay.
All right. Am I the asshole for telling a grieving person that the deceased person didn't even like them in the first place? I, 25 female, work in retail, and we are quite a small team in our store, so I guess you could say that we're all pretty close. Mostly. My work bestie, I will call him Mo, 23, and I used to spend lots of time together. We were always talking to each other while working and would often work on the same projects together and sometimes hang out after work. We would also gossip about one of our coworkers quite often. Let's call him Nick, 25, because it was just awful being around and working with him due to his personality. He was mean, selfish, and rude most of the time, and to say we didn't like him is an understatement. 2 weeks ago, Mo stopped showing up to work without letting anyone know he wasn't going to come in, which was so out of character. I immediately knew something was off. I had searched for him for a few days when we got the news that he had taken his own life. I was absolutely devastated, but wasn't allowed to take a day off. I had no choice but to work 8 hours a day in the place that reminded me most of him. It was torture, and I had to fight the urge to just quit and go home every day. One day, shortly after Mo's passing, Nick came up to me to tell me how much he has been suffering since Mo's death and that he just missed him so goddamn much. I initially didn't respond at all because, 1, I didn't know Nick had feelings and it caught me by surprise, and 2, because he has not been nice to Mo once. Honestly, I was fuming. It felt so fake of Nick to say that, since they have never gotten along. He then went on and on about all of the things he missed about him, and I just exploded and told him that I wouldn't bother grieving Mo's death because he hated his guts. Nick looked at me in shock and started to tear up a little bit. He then informed my manager and left early. I know I've been really harsh and I do feel kind of bad, but I feel like it was necessary to let him know that Mo didn't even like him in the first place. I couldn't stand listening to him fake grieving while I was actually on the verge of breaking down. Am I the asshole? I'm going to let you lead this one because I'm sitting here. I've got some thoughts. Hey, Brenda.
Hi, Brenda. You brought this mess to the table. You deal with it first.
Oh, my God. Here's the problem with this. If I go strictly by what they did, I have to go, that was a very asshole move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you think you know about anyone and anyone else's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, co-workers, frenemies, enemies, whatever you think they are, and you might be right. I don't think you get to ever really assume that that was 100% true.
Right.
It's kind of like Betty Davis, Joan Crawford. Like, just because there is an obvious animosity doesn't mean that you absolutely hate someone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that was just an unfortunate way your personalities mixed together and worked together, and it was a bigger misunderstanding than you knew.
Well,
that's one side of it.
A little bit.
Okay, but then I go and I'm like, well,
see your post.
Pardon?
See your post.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we have extra?
Uh-huh. I always love digging in for the extra helping of bull.
All right. So, okay, where do I even start? Mo was gay, very much so. Nick would always make inappropriate comments about that, like, why don't you act like a man for once, and similar stuff. We have talked to management about that, but they felt that it was just not enough to fire him for that. He would also make nasty comments about customers and other coworkers all the time. He's just the typical mean bully. He also sucks as a coworker in general. Wouldn't help you with... Sorry, the comment drops off.
Wouldn't help you with anything. Would always leave the difficult tasks for you to do, etc. So yeah, Mo was certainly very unwell, but it's safe to say he absolutely hated him. I do somewhat agree that I did not have the right to do that, and that I should apologize for overreacting. It just felt incredibly fake, and that I just could not contain myself.
And I think that's the bigger problem.
Right.
Is you lost a coworker, you had zero time to grieve, you were stuck in the place that, you like, y'all work together, you're having to go to work every day in the same place that you work together. Right. And this is a tragic situation.
Right.
And this is kind of normal for some, well, like OP and the deceased. This is kind of normal for that situation because you spend so much time together. That's, I mean, some people see their coworkers more than their spouses, at least during week. So it's not abnormal that when something horrible happens, that you can end up reacting very viscerally, and it is an unfortunate part of employment that we don't typically take that into account. That like the loss of a coworker can be a very serious thing. Right. So I'm sitting here going, if you want to go by strict behavior, yeah, that was bad.
Right.
And would be asshole. But then given the situation, I have to sit here and attenuate a little bit and go, I think that it was a horrible thing to do, yes. But at the same time, do I understand why you did it? Because you're grieving.
Right.
And you're having to deal with someone that you, at least from your conversations with the deceased, feel was not someone who needs to
Right.
do a bunch of static about how great they were and how wonderful they were and how much they missed them.
Right.
Whether or not that's true, because you don't feel like that's the relationship and you're stuck in this conversation that just
Right.
keeps going.
Right.
So I understand the blow up. I kind of, that makes me scream back to the not the asshole, because I think he could have chosen to walk away.
Here's my thing, and I'm going to make this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing two things at once.
Okay.
Here's the thing, and I have to debate this because, this person popped into our head the other day. I used to have a coworker. Anyone thought we hated each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're very, like, oh, man the fuck up, stop breaking my nails, that type of behavior. Mr. Sassy Pants himself. Anyone go, oh, that's terrible. We saw each other 16 hours a day for a year and a half. He acted more like my husband at the time than my husband did, including changing my battery. There's a great benefit to having a straight man around to do some shit. Saves on the manicure. So I don't think OP clearly has an understanding of the complexities of a relationship of someone gay and someone straight that have a minimal friendship.
Yeah. Well, but then again, does it make any difference? Like, here's the problem. If OP is right, then it is potentially a lot of fake, like getting in on the gossip, the current drama of the retail space.
Right.
Or it's a very misunderstood relationship, and maybe by both the deceased and OP.
Right.
And maybe Nick's just one of those people that doesn't understand.
Right.
No, sweetheart, people hate you because you're rude and you're ugly and nasty, and these aren't your friends. They like, if someone were to try to rob the store, they're gonna use you as a meat shield. Okay? Like, this is where your coworkers are at with you. Like, you are a meat shield. Like, they will pick you up and hold you up to take the gunfire. Is where your coworkers are at with you.
Right.
And there are people like that really don't understand that no, you don't have friends. People don't find you funny. Like, they seriously dislike you. Like, they're not playing with you and being all, sassy and da-da-da-da-da. They really want you to quit. Like, they would be glad for you to leave the workspace. Like, no one can throw you a party. So I'm wondering if maybe some of that's in play here. Is that Nick really doesn't know that, like, these people aren't being, cute and snippy with you. That they hate you.
Yeah.
Legit hate you. Meanwhile, you think you have these complex relationships that you don't have.
Right.
And I'm going, this could slice either way. Either OP is really not understanding that, no, this was a complex relationship. And there was an appreciation for each other that went beyond all the snarkiness.
Right.
Or no, really, Nick's that just oblivious and thinks everyone is his friend when they're really not.
Yeah.
So, but again, that kind of all circles back to, do you get to tell someone what their relationship with the deceased was?
No.
And then do we understand when people like is stuck in a situation where they can't get away from someone, like being at work, blow a gasket because regardless, I don't even think it mattered. It was just too much, regardless of who said it.
Exactly. I think that it's too much. I think that it was too much in the face also. All right, so the voting poll is up. You can go over and vote on Aeson Knight's YouTube. If you're watching from our other Cybercast locations, the link is in the comments. All righty, so let's dive into relationship advice.
Yes. So, caught my fiance using OnlyFans. We have been together a few years and got engaged this year. I have all of my partner's passwords and accounts on my phone since we share his accounts. I have never went through his stuff expecting to find anything or ever looked deep into his junk mail. Well, I started to notice a lot of emails from OnlyFans that it seemed like more than promotion. He had previously said he didn't like me having his email, but wouldn't say why. He had these emails blocked, and in a section of his email that he knew I didn't know about or ever looked at. He was intentionally hiding it from me. I logged into his account and discovered he had the account since February of this year and has continuously paid for subscriptions or posts or messages. He had spent almost $400 this year. I read through messages and he was bragging about skills he has or the house we just bought to them. He was trying to have real conversations with them and wanting to get to know the girls. He was flirting and called the girls beautiful. I have a lower libido than my partner, and this is something we have been trying to work through. I have been fine with porn because I don't believe a guy if they say they don't watch it. And I know it helps his sex drive since his is higher than mine. But to pay for something that is free feels wrong to me. It also feels like cheating because the texting and purchasing of custom content feels personal. It's especially frustrating because I've always made more money than my partner, and I take him out on nice dinners and dates and have always paid. This wasn't an issue to me because it's something I wanted to do with him, so I paid. But his reason for why he can't do the same for me is because he doesn't have the extra funds to do it. So to see he's spending so much money on these random girls who do nothing for him in the way I do hurt. When I confronted him about the issue, I asked as if I didn't know as much as I do. I asked if he had an account and he said he used to, but now it's gone. I asked how much he spent and he said only $3 here and there. So when I exposed that I knew he couldn't reason why he lied, he revealed he's had the account before we dated and deleted it and then got it back 6 months into our relationship. He said he has repeatedly deleted and got it back throughout our whole relationship. He said he would do anything to fix this and even go to therapy. I just feel so betrayed and my trust is completely broken. I don't know if I could ever believe he wouldn't do it again, or if he does, he would be better at hiding it. I've been cheated on in past relationships, but this feels more disgusting. How do I start to forgive?
Oh, take it away. First off, problem one, you have his account information. That's like you wearing his dirty underwear. You went and violated his privacy. Yes, I know nobody likes that opinion, but it's the truthful one. Secondly, he's an adult. He can choose what to spend his money on. You choose what to spend your money on. Is your bills paid? Yes. Otherwise, you'd be bitching that he doesn't make enough money to pay bills.
Yeah. Well, here's my thing. Is she's making a big deal about the $400 this year. $40 a month.
Yeah.
$40 a month. She's mad about $40 a month.
Yeah.
Like, we're 10 months into 2023. He has spent $40 a month.
Well, February, so you have to take off a month there.
Okay. Oh my God. He has spent like $42, whatever, a month. $43. Whatever.
Yeah. Again.
I mean, that's like, I'm sorry, that's a couple of trips to Starbucks. Like, this is
right.
A couple of gas station purchases are the equivalent.
Right.
Like, my God, we can't go to Sheetz once a month for $40.
Honey, we can't do McDonald's.
Fair. Well, barely.
No.
So, yeah, I'm sitting here going, like, you're talking about it's so much money. And I'm like, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Two, I don't get why everyone gets so, like, bent out of shape about OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But, like, go watch whatever raunchy, crazy free porn there is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she makes the point that it's basically, this feels personal.
Right.
Well,
That's
I'm sorry,
point.
someone has a fantasy and wants a little interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, compared to, and especially financially, but compared to, like, hiring an escort, going to a massage parlor, doing it with a street sex worker behind a dumpster, like, there's a lot of things, like cheating with your neighbors, cheating with your best friend. Like, there's a lot of things.
Right.
Way more personal.
Right.
That, like, I can kind of see this as, like, this is porn plus. This is basically a lap dance, like, in the private room.
No, it's
without
not.
all the ... Like, if it were what it said it was.
Again, no, it's not.
Okay.
$42 ain't going to get you shit in a damn strip club.
Well, that's true too. But I mean, in terms of, like, personal attention.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is, if the VIP room is what the VIP room is supposed to be.
Right.
This is that.
Right. But still, it's not going to get you that price.
Yeah, no, you're going to spend way more money than that. Like,
yeah. Like 20 years ago, it was 150, but, you know, that's 20 years ago.
Okay. Well, I'm just like, I don't see this as all that much of an issue. Like, this seems really bent out of shape.
Right.
Like, this is a lot of reaction for something that, one, you should have never known about.
Right.
That, like, you've been like, you know, go enjoy the porn. And I'm sorry, that's what OnlyFans is.
Right.
It's a porn platform. I think it's an adult content platform. It's like Pornhub. It's like blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I don't see this any differently, really. I mean,
no.
It sounds about as harmless as it can get.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, I think, you know, talking to people, like sending someone messages, and it doesn't sound like they're really responding. Like, he was trying to have real conversations with them, wanting to get to know the girls. He was flirting, called them beautiful. I don't know. Hi, you're a really ugly OnlyFans model. What else do you say?
Right. Now, let's take this
mean?
all into perspective. Where would I get upset about it? If he was spending $400 a week, if he was replying to DMs that says cash at me $175, now, you pig, you know, then we have to get into discussions of kinks and other things that isn't being supplied here. Blaming your low libido on everything is bullshit.
Well, and potentially also a conversation about finances. Like, if this, like, I get a little bit what she's saying, that, well, this is pulling away from us being able to go out. And it's like, no, I think he's kind of cheap. Like, I'll give her that one. I think her boyfriend's kind of cheap.
Right.
But, you know, I don't know what he does for a living. I don't know what you're wanting as a date. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like a very financially disparate relationship.
Right.
You know, that like someone's making barely above minimum wage and someone's like a lawyer or a doctor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty
Right.
big income gap.
Right.
So like if you're wanting to go to $100 dinners on the salary of someone who works,
Right.
you know, at a retail kind of wage, you might get one of those a year.
Right.
But even at that, I think that's more about the relationship and the fact that you're not really like you're keeping receipts.
Right.
And it's like you're making this less about our income and more about what you do.
Right.
Like you own this individual because you took him on nice dates and you did this and you did that and you did this other thing and you pay the bills and you helped buy the house and if you bought them a lion's share of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can kind of see why he's trying to be friendly towards, you know,
Right.
OnlyFans girls.
Right.
Because it sounds like you're really just cracking him in the head every chance you get.
Right.
And even if you like gender reverse this, I'm still gonna have this problem. Like,
Right.
no. I don't
Well,
think men who are the primary wage earner get to do this to women either.
no, not at all.
You know what I mean? Not that like go through your one. I think your primary fuck up was sharing accounts and having all your partner's passwords.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. I think you appoint legacy contacts if you need to, if you feel that's appropriate. Like potentially once you've married, which I don't think this is happening.
Right.
I think you're about to throw this fiance back to the dating pool.
Right.
As you should for his benefit.
Yeah, for his benefit, not yours.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of sounds like your gigolo boyfriend, fiance, because you're basically treating him like, you know, the hired help.
Right.
That you have a lot of control over.
Right.
Is talking to OnlyFans people and you don't appreciate that.
Right.
Somehow that cheapens your relationship.
Right.
And I'm really struggling to follow that.
Right.
Like, it just seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you have a fiance. I think you have a rent-a-boyfriend.
Well, and that's the problem also.
Okay.
Right. Is, you know, and we had this debate, but it was in reverse recently.
Okay.
I play a game. You know, it's, you know, I have Second Life, but I also have another game.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we were having discussions, and I'm like, yeah, they're having a sale for like $5, and you were like, oh, get it. It's like, no, it's $5, and you were like, and
you've been sitting here grinding, huffing and puffing over this level for days now.
Right.
And for $5, you're going to be able to finish it and like be happy.
Right.
Like it brings you joy and it's $5 fucking.
Right.
Spend the money.
Right.
Like, I don't care. And personally, like, I don't like, as long as, here's the deal. Are like, my general theory, and I guess this does work a little bit from reverse, but like, are the utilities on? Do we have food in the house?
Yeah.
Can we afford the things we need? Then you go sign up for as many OnlyFans as you want to. I don't
Right.
care. You talk to them all
Right.
you want to. You can feel like they're your best friend.
Right.
Or you can sext, and like, I have a problem with that.
Right.
I think we have a broken idea that somehow it's like sex is the apex pinnacle, and then you fall down 50 layers to, like,
Right.
teenage, juvenile, like, watch a video, open a magazine, and there's nothing in between.
Right.
Like, that's it. It's one of the two. You're doing one of the two. And that, like, you're not allowed to be like, that's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I would like something a little more than that.
Right.
Like, go to a strip show, like,
Yep.
whatever it is. I think until you get to the point that you're saying truly unreasonable things, like you're trying to start a relationship, not just flirt, but start a relationship, like you're having an emotional affair. And even then, given this one, I think you have to go, what's the realities of this? Is this a fantasy? Is this purely a fantasy?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this, like, an actual attempt to leave you and start a new relationship?
Right.
And I don't even think we're there.
Right.
This is like, hey, sexy, how you doing? Hope everything's okay.
This is like me tipping a DJ at a damn Second Life party.
Or more importantly, this is like me getting mad because you like drag shows and tip drag performers.
Well, yeah.
I mean, this is about as close to that as that gets. Like, that's and it's like, I don't particularly care for drag shows all that much. I'm just not enamored. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. Revoke my gay card. Throw me back to the wild. I don't get it. But I'm not against, like, I have never fought you on going to a drag show. I
Nope.
have never fought you on tipping drag performers. I recognize it as an art. I recognize it as a performance. I recognize it as, and I know that they say very lewd and flirty things, and it's part of the thing.
Yeah.
I don't think strippers do anything different. I don't think most servers in a restaurant do anything different. Not servers that want high tips and, like, figured out the system that
Right.
show a little cleavage and act a little flirtatious, and your tips go up. So I see a difference there. Like, I'm sorry, if I have the assets, I would to work at Hooters, I would sit there and, like, okay, let's cut a little more of a V into this and give me your money.
Instructions to tell your tailor next time.
Like,
and it's not cut a little more cleavage here. It's take in the inseams a little bit more so that it actually comes up.
Any which way you need to do it.
Uh-huh.
Lift them, push them, pull them, tug them, shove them up. Right. Whatever you got to do, and flirt a little bit and be friendly.
Exactly.
Make your money.
Right.
But I think we're also of the idea and understanding, I think the vast majority of human beings, that, a flirty server is a performance. Someone, a flirty OnlyFan, a flirty porn star. This is part of the performance package.
Yeah.
This is what sells the money. Or this is what makes the money and sells the product. Like,
Right.
this is what sells. This is what makes money. I didn't think anyone was confused by this.
Well, apparently they are very confused by this because it's ridiculous. And, I think this leads into a deeper conversation that they need to be having over personal boundaries, personal space, personal life, personal being, personal agency.
Yeah. And I think so to answer the real question at the end of this, how do I start to forgive? I think you
By
have to forgive
deleting his
yourself for
accounts.
believing
Right.
that this was all his fault and his problem and a thing that he did.
Right.
Like, I think you have to reel that backwards and go, you know what? I think I overreacted here
Right.
to something that is meaningless.
Well, not only that, but I think I invaded here
Uh-huh. A little bit.
way too much.
Like, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
So, you need to either A, give up your Victoria's Secret, like hand it over,
really?
or B, chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Okay? People don't like that answer, but it's the real one. We've been in a relationship for 7 years now?
Well, 6 going towards 7.
Yeah, 6 going towards 7. The Invisible has been in a relationship with me going on December 12th will be 12 years. Yes, these are could be considered dog years in gay life. We get this.
Yeah.
We still have to go. Will you please, log in and handle this on your account because it's yours to deal with?
Yeah.
Well,
and I know for me, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't like people in my accounts, and it has less to do with like what you're gonna find and more with, I don't fuck with my shit.
Yeah.
Like, don't move, like, oh my God. Talk about things that drive me crazy. Like, don't touch my stuff. Like, it does. It sends me over the moon. Because it always works out that way.
Right.
And that's for anyone who has ever logged into my computer and done something. Is because whatever they do,
right.
I don't know how it always happens, but like something gets broken, something gets moved, something gets screwed up. And it's like, no.
Well, here's an example. I archive every month my crap. I get too much crap on my computer, so it gets archived. Drives him crazy.
Yes.
We had shared files, and I just go through and I'm archiving. He's like, what are you doing?
I had stuff like disappearing all over the place.
Yeah.
And some of it I've never seen again. I don't know where it went.
In the archives.
Never to be found. Like, because you sent me like some of the archives so that I could find. I never did locate some of the stuff. Like, and it was just fun. I'll recreate it, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, the last time and this goes back a long ways. The last time I legitimately, honestly had no problem with someone using my computer was a roommate in college.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
When used my computer, which I thought was and was explained to me as for academic purposes, which I don't mind if you research. I don't mind if you type up a paper. I don't mind if you download stuff to whatever. I don't mind if you print stuff off. But when you start like, I don't know, surfing for whatever while I'm not there, and then you start installing stuff that comes with viruses and malware, and I have to stop and like fumigate the system and hose it down. No. You're not using my computer anymore. And that was the last time I was actually comfortable with the idea.
Right.
And so we're talking like 2002.
Right.
So I'm about 21 years into this.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch my shit.
Right. Well, not only that, but I'm in that mood. It's two different viewpoints. I don't give a damn. Stay out of my client files. You have access to my stuff because he works for it. The invisible cannot get into my stuff because he doesn't do any of the work anymore. He's now moved on. He has his own stuff.
Just because I can
doesn't mean you do.
I mean, I do. Because usually the way this goes is, honey, while I'm taking a nap, can you do X?
Right.
Sure, fine, whatever. And honest to God, I'm not like, I'm going in to do one thing.
Right.
I think I've emergency gone in, and yet again, it was, could you do this thing? And we didn't realize it was going to involve me getting on his computer to accomplish this.
Right.
And again, I go in with the assumption that whatever I see when I log in is just whatever I see when I log in. This is not relevant.
Right.
Like, I don't care if it is 32-point font spread across two monitors that says, I am going to kill Joe. Here is my plan. Minimize. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a creative work. Maybe he needed to get something out of his system. I don't know. I don't care.
Right.
Like, I don't get to spy on you.
Right.
And then start asking questions, because this is a personal computer for a reason.
Right.
So I don't know what it was. I don't get to know what it was. It is inappropriate, in my opinion, to ask someone, what is that?
Right.
That is none of your business.
Right. And, problem one I see in this relationship that's going to kill it before you even get to this marriage is the sharing of account information. You can't be trusted with it. You can't.
Obviously. And see, this is why I think this one's doomed. Because that's one of those things that I've noticed, that partners who do this, that like share account information and then go on to get pissed about something that they found by logging in to those accounts they demanded access to. There's no undo button. There's no going back to before we shared accounts and being like, okay, we're just going to live in this happy place where we don't log into each other's shit.
Right.
There's no reverse on that.
Right.
Like, there's no undo button. It just continues to be an issue.
Right.
Whether they agree to it or not, they will sit there and go and make assumptions, at least enough to start an argument of, well, what are you doing on your email? Right. Well, if I had access, I could do that.
Right.
I would know. I would feel more secure. But we can't do that because, like, on and on and on. That's not how this works.
Well, not only that, but you just made a statement there that's never true.
Okay.
You don't feel more secure.
No. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I get trust but verify. I really, truly do.
No.
But this isn't verification.
Yeah, this is let me look for damage. Let me look for ways to damage my relationship.
Yeah, this is hunting for problems. And I'm sorry, when you're hunting for problems, one, I don't think it's ever appropriate to sit and grill someone over anything you find. Like, is it child porn?
That's not your department to, that's not your department.
But that's about the only thing that I think you could truly, honestly, and it better be like, you turned on the computer.
Well, see, this is where we're going to disagree. I turn on your computer because I'm in the mood to be a, superficial bitch. And boom, there it is. No, 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 no. I stop what's going on. I remove my hands from the keyboard. I pick up my cell phone and I call the police. That's their department. It's what I pay taxes for.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That's the only thing you do with that is like, I don't know any reasonable excuse for child pornography.
Right.
Especially not at turn on computer and ta-da, there it is.
Right.
And yeah, your only reaction to that is you don't even have to question why or how or when or no. Stop, dial 911. You need an officer.
Yeah.
And it's still not for you to know anything about this. Like how? How do you even try to ask those questions? Why are you going to?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, that's a relationship and right there.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I think everything else is like, don't ask questions. You don't want the answers.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't ask questions. This wasn't for you to know.
Right.
Did your partner openly share this with you intentionally?
Right.
No. Then not for you to know.
Right.
You just, you go down that rabbit hole, you see whatever you see, and then you have to shut the hell up about it.
Right.
Because it's like walking into a conversation and eavesdropping.
Right.
People say horrible things about you all the time. I will guarantee it.
Yeah.
Because they're not talking to you.
Right.
Then you have to sit there and know what they've said. And you've got to, check your emotional reaction, because no, you don't get to go blazing both barrels into that conversation. Because it wasn't for you. 2, even if you think that's what they truly, honestly, deeply think, that, they before they started this conversation, like they're on an episode of Judge Judy, put their hand on a Bible, and I swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing. Really? I'm sorry. Have you heard have you listened to your own self talking about your own friends? You know what I mean? Sometimes conversations run amok.
Right.
Sometimes we say things we don't mean and shouldn't have said, knew I shouldn't have said it when I said it. But you know what? There it is. And sometimes we do the same thing about our partners. And that's okay too.
Yep.
Because sometimes we're working through something. Right. And sometimes you just pissed them off real bad that day. And, bleh.
Yeah. Believe me, there's been many times I've planned your death.
I'm sure there is a plan in place with many a person to grab the tarps and come on over.
No, not at all. I work alone, but anyhow.
Oh, please.
I do. But
the real cover for a murder, though, is you've got to get the body out of the house, and we don't have a attached garage. So your best option is not to just call one person; it's to have a house party.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. One, you think that we need to get the body out of the house.
Well, you don't have a disposal, and
really?
Oh,
I have a deep freeze.
Oh, come on. Don't put me in the deep freeze.
Why
One,
not?
I don't want peas on me. Two, and more importantly, as many crime shows as you have watched, you're gonna go with the most of all the ways. Like, this is gonna get caught by Friday.
No, not get caught by Friday.
My friend.
First of all,
Okay.
one, it isn't my fault you go running off with some weird man. Two, who's going to question someone that's just got left in in a relationship? And three, as long as I pay the storage bill fee every month, they won't find you.
Oh, great. Thanks, Brenda. Joe, the baristas will... Oh, is that the escape fund for me, or is that the escape fund for him? Like, let's clarify real quick. Who's getting money? Like, if he wants to murder me, do you create the escape fund for me to get away from the psycho killer? Or do you create it for said psycho killer? We can both agree. You will be the psycho killer.
Psychic killer.
Okay, psychic killer. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
I do have a grieving widow's outfit already in my closet.
It is your closet. Your entire
Yes.
closet. Like your range on clothing is basically bereaved widow to Pugsley Adam goes on vacation. You have worn a black shirt with black shorts and black shoes more than once to go to swimming.
Yes.
I'm just saying, Pugsley Adams on vacation. It's the same outfit.
Yes. I encapsulated my wardrobe, went very conservative with my wardrobe.
But you have a lot of bereaved widow outfits.
I do. Me and Queen Victoria will have has the same stylist, but
I think you're more surprised, really. That I feel like I'm in Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events, because I feel like you've been trying to kill me, but it's just not working out.
Clarify that. When?
I think it's daily. I think you've been trying to kill me for 5 years, 11 months, and 20 some days. And
really?
It's just like, I think you're just sitting there damn, the assassins have failed again. What the hell? I'm teasing.
I haven't been trying to hurt a hair on your head.
Well, I'm sure, because there aren't many left, and I don't think it's killing my hair that's really bugging you. The whole rest of me under the hair is really starting to...
No, not really. Not really, Again, I haven't been trying to kill you.
I'm so teasing. I'm so teasing.
You better clarify that.
No, I just mean we have joked about this from basically the beginning.
Yeah.
So no, I was just being silly.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
First of all, you didn't buy our deep freeze until at least a year into our relationship.
Really
Second of all, yeah.
And she even paid for the hardware.
Yes. Second of all, if I had wanted to kill you, that would have already been done. I had the purpose opportunity when we found out your neck was, misaligned.
I know, right? Well, but then again, you did, take me to Bridge Day and encourage me to jump. You did take me to the state fair and we rode roller coasters.
No. You rode roller coasters. I rode one ride with you, and I was on the outside.
I'm being silly. Calm down. No, I don't think he's trying to kill me. I really don't. I really don't. I just had to give you grief for that one. Because your grandmother, I'm sorry, lost credulity on her dead husband series somewhere around husband number 2 of 13.
Yeah, it ain't my fault that, I haven't gotten you to become a minor yet, so you're safe there.
Woo! Mark safe from. No, I'm teasing.
And then, let's continue on here. You saw the snake in the backyard and walked away from it perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm. I did. Also refused to go back in the backyard because of the nope rope.
So again, where's the issue? What have you done? Because, the only problem, and, if we want to discuss that legend of the family, is you gotta fuck up.
Really? 13 husbands? Like, did they sneeze wrong?
No, it was mining accidents, all of them.
It was mining accidents, all of them. Except for the first one that was hypnotized.
Well, the first one was a drunken, he went out drinking and spent the whole paycheck and, came home 3 days later.
Brenda says Granny had a thing for men with bad luck. You better believe she did.
Don't go and spend all the money, that you've worked and, technically own the mining company and come home drafting around complaining about how, I'm not a good wife.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Can't really help it, snake just has to show up and bite you, but hey.
I'm just saying it was a large series of unfortunate incidents for your grandmother's husbands.
Well, here, do a Google search on the likelihood of a man to have survived the mines in the 1940s.
Well, it has definitely gotten better because if you go because I'm looking at coal fatalities for 1900 through 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So 1900, 1,489 miners of 448,581.
Mm-hmm.
So that's roughly a 1% chance of death.
Mm-hmm.
Like they lost 1%, and it looks like that stayed fairly consistent. Like even as the number of miners went up and down, it looks like it hovered around 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly until the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
And then it dropped below 1% and kind of dwindled down. Like, I don't think it ever jumped over that again. Like, I'm looking through, but... And then by the time you get to 2022, yeah, it's like 10 of 66,000.
Right.
So your fatality rate dropped precipitously or started dropping and falling after the 1950s, but I don't think it really ever jumped over about 1 to 2%.
Right.
Like I'm trying. Sorry, it's a lot of numbers, and I'm trying to do like really quick comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it looks like it dropped below 1% there in the 50s.
Yeah.
So
before then, it was like 1 in 10 would die.
Before 1900?
Before 1940. I mean, 1950.
Well, it was about 1 in 100.
Yeah.
Not 1 in 10. Like, it was 1 in 100.
There were some mines that was literally 1 in 10. Because the companies were so damn shoddy.
Okay, that's a fair point, too. This is, like, gross statistics.
Right.
Like, if you particularly have horrible minds,
Right.
like, they could be 60% of the statistics.
Mhm.
So that's kind of fair.
Right.
Like, but still, that's,
Yeah. I mean,
it's very unfortunate.
right. But that's the life and times that she lived in. I mean, she had to marry a man in 7 days, or back to the cave you go, or they taking care of your stuff to the edge of the town and leave you there.
Yeah, coal camps weren't friendly.
No.
Like,
You know.
there is that. There is that.
So yeah, but anyhow, you survived the nope rope.
I survived the nope rope.
Yeah, so you should be happy.
You survived the nope rope, so you should be happy.
I mean, granted, it was just a garden snake, not a black snake, or a cottonmouth.
Oh my god.
You haven't had a heart attack. You haven't had a stroke. Growing up with your grandmother, I'm quite sure she proofed you for arsenic.
What?
Growing up with your grandmother, I'm sure she proofed you for arsenic with her chicken.
How so? Like, I mean,
how did she prepare her chicken?
Well, her chicken, like, she was part of the, and please do not try this at home. She was part of that generation that put a cap full of bleach into a tub bowl of water and soaked or like defrosted and cleaned her chicken with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the fact I survived her chicken.
Yeah.
But I don't get how the Clorox proofed me for arsenic.
Because in general, it probably proofed you for arsenic because the body's gotten used to having toxins in it and absorbing them and getting rid of them.
Oh, fair enough. Like, I'm sure my artery walls are spick and span.
Just a little.
Like, you could eat food off my arteries.
We could find out.
This conversation. No, we cannot. We cannot.
And if I wanted to kill you, I think I would have left you with Dr. Dum Dum.
Well, that's true. Okay, I can give you that one. Getting me away from Dum Dum was probably yeah.
Who told you that your neck was what?
Oh, actually said it wasn't, like, that wasn't even his thought of a neck or back issue. It was that apparently the belts that I did not wear, I wore them too tight and I was compressing a nerve at my waistline.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, tried to argue that one, but he never did get that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and also thought to, because of your blood pressure, you need to be on blood pressure medicine, and fixed your birthday that year real nice.
Well, that was Dum Dum's PA.
Right.
Yeah. It really was like, yeah, time to leave. Like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Granted, you wouldn't have gotten Dr. Anal leakage, but, by that time I had done been told to shut up.
Okay.
After I threw a fit over the PT shaving your legs.
Well, yeah, that was, physical therapy was its own monster, but I mean, they were the first ones that were like, yeah, that's a spinal issue. Like, I can't tell you specifically where, but that's a spinal issue. Like, they took one look at me and were like, that was a spinal issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that that weird leg shave thing was supposed to be part of the original like physical therapy for the diagnosis Dum Dum gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that quickly disproved to them that, like, yeah, he's full of crap.
Right.
Because by the end of that visit, they were thoroughly convinced, no, you have a spinal issue.
Right.
Like, we can try to help, but there's
Mm-hmm.
well, because see, the original thing that drove me to the doctor was on the outside of my leg. I was having a lot of numbness and tingling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what started the whole thing.
Right.
Because, and just real quick, the backstory, we went out to eat one night and I turned my head slightly and literally everything I did, and I felt lightning bolts shoot down my spine all the way out my toes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the numbness in my legs started.
Mm-hmm.
So that, of course, drove me to a doctor because the numbness didn't go away. And he said it was because I was, as someone who doesn't normally wear a belt anymore, wearing my belts too tight. And that I'd compressed a nerve at my waistline, and that was my problem, that I just needed to wear looser fitting clothing. But if I was so concerned about it, he would send me to physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So he arranged the physical therapy, and physical therapy did the first appointment. Did the whole leg shave and bandage cartwheel, or a literal, it looked like a wagon wheel, on my leg, and then realized, I think pretty quickly, that wasn't at all my issue.
Yeah.
Which they shaved my leg for that. And then, by the end of that appointment, they're like, you have a spinal issue.
Right.
Like, this is not a pinched nerve.
Yeah.
Like, it is, but it's not at your waistline. It's in your
spine. Right.
But,
it's one of those things that's like, could have told you that one.
Yeah, but then, well, and the reason I was getting so persnickety about the whole healthcare thing was, then I had to fight the insurance company over an MRI. Then it turned into, finding a new doctor, a new GP. Then, the new GP was sent over, or they were supposed to have sent over for Dr. Anal Leakage, my spine surgeon. And they didn't get back to me. And then, like, we had to throw a fit just to get me into the appointment. And they finally get the MRI, scheduled and everything set up for it. Like, it was just one thing after another, and I was literally at a point of, can we just have a cakewalk? Like, can we just do the imaging, find my diagnosis, figure out what we're doing, and send me on my way? Because I really didn't expect to have another neck surgery. Wasn't my 2018, 2019 plan.
Right. Yeah. That was a fun, complicated mess.
Yeah, I was getting really frustrated.
Right. And I'm sitting there going, this ain't right. This ain't right. This ain't right. This ain't right. This ain't right.
I know.
Fine. I will deal with it. So, no, I ain't trying to kill you.
Okay. Well, I was more so, I wanted to get in and out of the doctor's appointment and, like, just find out what I needed to know. Like, that was all I wanted to do. And again, I really didn't think this was going to shoot off into, I need surgery. Like, you could have picked me. I about hit the floor when she told me that.
Yeah.
Again, another PA, but for the spine surgeon for Dr. Anal leakage. You could
Yeah.
about pick me up off the floor because I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Not
Going
again.
7 years. Yeah, 7 years. That's about right.
I was just like, are we serious here? Like,
Mhm.
have to? like, what? Do I have options here? It's like
Yeah.
you're a whiplash accident away from permanent paralysis. Okay, we don't have options here. Got it.
See, that I still debate with. Like, looking at MRI, I don't agree with that opinion, but that's just me.
Well, and again, I mean, that may be just totally professional, like fear mongering or worst case scenarioing.
Right.
Like, as in, it's not untrue, but it's really overemphasizing like a worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That, like, you're not that brittle, but like, let's go ahead and get this taken care of because, like, you could pull out of the parking lot and get hit by a semi truck.
Mm-hmm.
And be paralyzed. And it's like, well,
Right.
couldn't anyone? Yeah, but you'll get there faster.
Right.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, but no, your takeaway from this in general is, one, you don't have a healthy relationship unless you already know 3 ways to kill them. 2, stay the fuck out of your man's phone, off his computer. If you're happy and the bills are paid and he's coming home and having dinner with you every night and you're going out on dates and you're building a relationship, great. If he needs spank bait material, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And 3, remember to, that also relationships are give and take. And if you ain't giving, that means you're taking.
Okay.
All right. So with that, guys, I'll see you Thursday night with Miss Natalie.
Hey, there we go. So what's her poll say?
Oh, yes. Let's go look at our poll.
Yeah, don't forget the poll. You know they get cranky.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
Everyone's shitty.
Stabby. Everyone's shitty here?
Yep.
All right.
Alrighty.
Fair enough. I'll let that. That's fair enough.
Yep.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And you guys have an amazing night. Bye, y'all.
Bye.